With a net worth of $117.3 billion, Jeff Bezos definitely knows how to navigate all kinds of economic situations. Whether the market is rising or crashing, Bezos has built himself an empire that is stable, consistent, and foolproof. But how exactly did he manage to do it? As of now, we're on the brink of a terrible recession, and Bezos seems to agree. So in times of financial uncertainty, what tips does the entrepreneur have to offer? Stay tuned because in this video, we're finding out how to invest during a recession as told by Jeff Bezos. Is a recession really coming? With his experience in the business world, it's safe to assume that a man like Bezos knows what he's talking about, and he seems to believe that we're headed toward an economic downturn. According to Bezos, a recession is looming closer than ever, and if you want to survive, you need to think fast and act even faster. In a recent interview with CNN, Bezos has gone on to talk about how the economy isn't in great shape at the moment. So even if we're not in a recession right now, we are likely to be in one soon. And according to the founder of Amazon, now is the time for all of us to limit our expenditures. Bezos has gone on the record to warn all small business owners to reduce their risk as much as possible. And according to him, the best way to do so is to hold off any big purchases. This stands true for business owners and individuals alike. Bezos believes that now is definitely not the time for anyone to be spending their hard-earned money on things that they don't need. According to him, just a little bit of risk reduction can make all the difference. Not just Bezos, but some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs like Elon Musk have also warned the world against impending doom of the upcoming recession. Musk actually thinks that the recession is probably going to last for 1 or 2 years. When you look at the current economic situation, the possibility of a recession doesn't seem all that far-fetched. Some of the world's biggest tech giants, including Amazon, Twitter, Meta, and Apple, have had to carry out massive layoffs. And if that's not a sign to prepare yourself for the worst, we don't know what is. Investing tips from Bezos. According to Jeff Bezos, the best thing you can do during the onset of an economic downturn is to hold onto your cash reserves. Even with his own company, Bezos is taking a cost-cutting approach. Amazon has currently frozen hiring and is slowing down spending to make sure that it survives the crisis. Why? Because Bezos believes that stockpiling cash is the most effective way to get out of this unscathed. The more money you have in your savings, the more chance you have to survive the recession and build yourself back up again. An emergency fund makes all the difference. According to Bezos, not only should you be holding on to your money at a time like this, but you should also be thinking of setting up an emergency fund for yourself. The truth is that during a recession, no one is safe. So it's important to give yourself something to fall back on. So a new car or a bigger fridge can wait because now more than ever, everyone needs their assets to have fluidity for an emergency situation. According to Bezos, you must never give in to the pressure of what other people are doing. And considering the fact that his advice comes right in the middle of the Christmas season, when his own company benefits from extravagant sales, you can really tell how honest the mogul really is. What does Bezos himself invest in? It was a pretty shocking move when back in 2013, Bezos purchased the Washington Post for a mere $250 million, which is simply pocket change to a man like him. Now, the reason why this was so controversial was the fact that the newspaper market was on a horrible decline back then. Whether it was readership or advertisement, no one was really placing their bets on a newspaper company, except Bezos, of course. As a senior executive, Bezos believes that his job is to only make a few decisions, but those few decisions are what make all the difference, which is why they have to be high quality. Making 1,000 decisions a day isn't worth it. But what matters is that you know what you want to achieve in the least amount of steps. However, if there's one thing we can all learn from the man, it's the fact that you should always invest in something that you believe in. Bezos had a vision with the Washington Post. He wanted to improve the kind of content that the paper was putting out and bring technology and journalism together in a seamless way. While the entire world was shunning the written word, he brought print, video, and audio together to create something that went on to define modern journalism. This way, Bezos' acquisition of the Washington Post was a pretty lucrative deal. He managed to buy the company for a lesser amount and added value to it. So, the most important investing tip from the business mogul is to do things that everyone thinks are wrong. So, while Elon Musk and Bill Gates are telling people to take their cash and invest into something before the recession hits, Bezos believes that playing the longer game and holding on to it is what's eventually going to pay off. And with his success rate, who wants to go up against him? However, Bezos also wants investors to know that when you invest in stocks, there are always going to be ups and downs. So don't spend time thinking a lot about daily stock prices, because the truth is, when the stock is up 30% one day, you'll feel like the smartest person in the world. But when it's down, you might also end up feeling like the dumbest person in the world. So play the long game and forget about daily fluctuations. It's the thought that counts. According to Bezos, to survive a recession, you need to build yourself an empire that won't shake. And how do you do that? Well, you start off by having a clear philosophy. With Amazon, Bezos always wanted to have an extremely large customer base with low margins, rather than a small customer base with high margins. That's what his approach has always been. To be a successful investor, you really need to boil your thoughts down to the smallest of details and think about everything with clarity and focus. Once you find a philosophy that works for you, you can then take it and apply it anywhere you want. All that you need to do is to keep avoiding the losing side, and the victory will come to you automatically. Weigh the pros and cons. While looking for new business opportunities, the number one step that the billionaire takes is to weigh all his pros and cons. Before looking at the bigger picture and realizing what impact his decisions can have, Bezos believes that taking any drastic step is never worth the risk. This is what he calls regret minimization framework. This is how he started his first ever entrepreneurial venture of starting an online bookstore, which eventually evolved into Amazon as we now know it. But what most people don't know is that when Bezos told his boss that he was going to be quitting and working on a company of his own, his boss told him that it was a pretty good idea for someone who didn't already have a job. And while it's true that at this point, Bezos was pretty stable in his career, he still knew that he wanted to take that risk. Why? Because he thought of himself at the age of 80, and when he imagined himself in the future, he just didn't want to have any regrets about all that he could have done. So he realized that the fact that he never even tried would have haunted him forever, and that's how he decided to lay the foundations of Amazon. This is an approach that Bezos believes in even to this day. Stop thinking of the short term and think long term, because that's how you make the best decisions for yourself and everyone associated with you. In Bezos' world, it's okay to fail again and again instead of collecting one regret after the other. Under this framework, you decide what kind of an investor you are. You make the call on what risk to take and what not to take, and you decide when you want to pull your money out of the market. That sounds like a pretty reasonable approach, right? Why did Amazon succeed? Most people know that Bezos is the kind of person who isn't impatient when he strives for something. Some say that he plants seeds and is then more than happy to wait for months on end before he starts receiving returns. And to a huge extent, this has also been his success strategy with Amazon. The company always plays the longer game and thinks of the distant future instead of settling for instant gratification. But what makes Bezos deal with the pressure of having to wait? The truth is that the man has an incredible amount of patience. He believes that if he is clear about what he wants and how he's going to achieve it, he doesn't need to stress out about it. In his world, there is no right or wrong way to do anything. There is just his way and everyone else's way. In all his approaches, he is clear and transparent with his stakeholders, always letting them know what his next move is going to be, and perhaps that is what has helped him grow so much in such a short amount of time. Moving on to smaller businesses, the Amazon CEO believes that when you are working on a smaller scale, it's easy to get caught up in the game. But instead of focusing all your resources and brain power on achieving really big things and moving towards big milestones, it's always important to remember that big things start small. According to the CEO, if you want to do something new, you need to understand that the biggest oak starts from an acorn. And if you want your business to grow and thrive, you need to take it one step at a time. So, if the recession keeps your small business from scaling how you want it to at this point, it's okay to take a step back. There are no shortcuts to success. Things take time, and you need to make sure that every step that it takes for you to get where you are, you need to take it with passion and sincerity. At the end of the day, there's always something or the other that stops you from reaching your financial goals, but having billionaires giving out advice that helps people like us in tough times like the one we're in right now brightens up our day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for sticking around until the end. We'll see you in the next one.